what kind of a startup are you, right? I think there's a lot of attention paid to venture-backed startup companies, but that's not the only way to start a company. You can go and get a bank loan, or you can bootstrap yourself based on your own cash. I think that we're going to spend a lot of time talking about venture-backed startups today, just because that is where a lot of our clientele that have this question come from. But it's worth making that distinction. And if you are a bootstrapped company, then your approach to cloud costs, like your approach to all costs, is very different, because it's your money and you only have so much of it to spend. And so in those circumstances, you have to be very strategic about how you're spending money in cloud and in everywhere else. Um, and maybe you're willing to go slower, or move more deliberately to make sure that you don't run out of cash. On the venture side, however, you've just got some number of $1 million has fallen from the sky into your lap, and now your goal is to move as quickly as possible to find product market fit and to grow. And that makes the kind of decision factors very, very different.
Yeah, I feel like the main differentiator between the two is how much risk you can accept.
Right.
When you're bootstrapped, you can accept very little risk, right? When you are venture backed, risk is your middle name, right?
Yeah, risk is the name of the game.
You're
Absolutely.
literally playing with house money at this point, so you can gamble a little more freely, versus when you have $200 to your name.
Right.
So I think when strategic, you have to be very strategic and very risk averse when you're a bootstrap startup, and you're going to have very slow infrastructure growth accordingly, right? And that is, first of all, it's extremely difficult for us to talk about, because it depends on your use case, what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and you are the one who's getting your bill, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to know when you have done too much, right?
Right.
I think with a venture-backed startup, you can't be more risky, and your first thing is, the main concentration is going to be growth, right?
Right.
And I feel like, to take a little tip from the groups who are bootstrapped, you don't necessarily want to take off running right away. You still want to be somewhat strategic about your growth, right? Your money is not going to last forever. So you want to at least be wise in how you deploy things and make sure you're getting the most bang out of your buck when you do it, or at least being able to track where those bucks went. So taking some extra time as a startup to do some things on the whiteboard, and please, very early and very often, tag. Right?
Yes, please.
Start putting your ability to have observability in right away. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, tag, turn your cost and usage reports on. All of those things are, I think it comes down to, the tyranny of small decisions, right? That when you're a 5-person startup company, some of your decisions around how you deal with cloud, not just things like tagging and cost allocation, but, things like making everybody an administrator because it's easier to do, right? Like, these are problems that are very easy to get into and very difficult to get out of. And those are the sorts of problems, obviously, that you want to avoid when you're small, because you still have the agility to fix them. And there's also the problem that especially in the tech world, you can become a victim of your own success. If your company grows very, very big, very, very fast, a lot of those decisions that you thought you could walk back, or things you thought you could do later with respect to cost control, suddenly you can't anymore, for any one of a number of reasons, right? There's more important stuff to do. The investors want features, they don't want infrastructure. There are demos to give, and the thing can't go down, right? And there are consequences to that also.
And I feel like there's still that kind of thought pattern of and it's true, people have a lot of forgiveness for things that are very, very new.
Yep.
But if you develop bad habits, or build on top of an unsure foundation, you may be setting yourself up for trouble later on. You don't have to be web scale on day one, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you certainly want to have the ability to be able to be web scale if you need. And
Yeah.
so going through and saying, all right, well, we need to have, this extremely complex architecture on day one. No. But you can plan that as down the road and make sure you're not painting yourself into corners. And you can make sure you're not painting yourself into corners financially, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to, nor should you be making commitments to your provider right away at all
Yeah.
under any
For
circumstance.
sure. For sure. I mean, unless you're in a business that is and is known to be extremely capital intensive on the compute side. I mean, if you know you're going to have to store petabytes of data at the end of year one, maybe you should be talking about getting some special discounts on S3, right? But a lot of businesses are not that way.
And even then, I'm still leery, right? Because if you make this commitment at the end of year one, presupposing you're going to be around at the end of year three.
Yeah, there's that too. There's that too. I think there's something else here too, which is just like, as you say, you don't want to overcorrect, you don't want to undercorrect, right? You kind of want to make decisions with the information that you have on the ground. But like, there's the aspect of raising money isn't free, right? Uh, Whenever you raise money, you are giving more of your company away. And so sometimes when you defer some of these things for too long and you end up spending so much money in the cloud that you have to take more money just to keep going, then that hurts your business. And that is a drag, especially that I've seen companies that have had to go into DEF round financing because they're just burning money and they don't have any way to stop the bleeding